where AI is moving and these different agents for different areas of that stack, the first step is replacing our current model. The second step is replacing all of it, where we have a learning system basically that's constantly adapting and optimizing.
What if military SATCOMs worked on everyday cell phones? That's not a future concept, it just happened. Today on Mission Critical, I'm joined by Tim Hillner, co-founder of Fairwinds Technologies. Tim and his team recently demonstrated the world's first tactical, direct-to-device satellite connectivity using standard cell phones, no custom hardware required. Tim's career spans government, startup life, and some of the most complex communications environments imaginable. What I love about his story is that it's not just about breakthrough tech. It's about leadership under pressure, building teams that actually perform, and aligning innovation with real mission needs. If you care about where defense communications are heading and how great teams make that possible, this conversation is for you. Welcome, Tim.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I've been wanting to do this for a long time with you. And very recently, you've had a lot of news around Fairwind and one of your partners. Bring me up to speed in terms of your latest.
Sure. It's been a while, last 6 months, working on multiple different use case type testing of military applications over AST SpaceMobile satellite. And we recently had the exercise that we did out in Hawaii in the June-July timeframe, where we were able to test, running tech and secure VTC type applications and secure voice over those 5 satellites that they have up currently.
Mm-hmm. So Fairwind's partnership with AST SpaceMobile is getting a ton of attention right now. How did that actually come together? And at what point did you realize this is something big? Was it the launch moment?
So that's a great question. We actually been working with AST SpaceMobile since our friend and partner and Michael Pollock, he likes to use the term since they were a paper sat, i.e. a satellite that was only on paper design only and not actually launched. And that was quite a few years ago. I think been about 4 years now working with them.
A paper sat. Well, and I walked around AUSA with somebody, and even, SAT Symposium, and they go, 80% of this, it's never actually been in use. So that's what you're referring to in terms of paper sat. Great idea, but we don't know if it works.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Matt Jones, our EVP for Advanced Technologies, and him and Michael have been working together for a long time. So it kind of started there with, hey, what can you do to help us? And we've kind of been growing ever since to the point when we got invited to go out to one of their launches and got to see that, which is pretty neat. And then ultimately be on the tests, being one of the first companies outside of AST to test over their satellites. So it's been a great wild ride, and this is definitely going to revolutionize military communications.
Definitely. So this concept has been talked about a lot in terms of how cool would it be if, maybe even for like the last 5 years, what was the technical or operational, maybe in partnership unlock that made this possible now as opposed to 5 years ago?
Ooh, that's a great question. So some of that is you could find it out looking at patent filings on the AST side if you're really interested in deep technical information and want to get to sleep faster. But really, you think about the different approaches to making communications happen from space. AST really kind of took the approach of, physics. How do we do this by overcoming the biggest challenge of the physical problem of the long distance between the ground and the spacecraft, where not just physical distance, but size. So essentially, they designed to deploy when the largest, satellite antenna array in the LEO space, and they're going bigger. They just launched their last satellite last month. That's an even bigger antenna, and really, you can't boost your signal when you're trying to receive it by just putting amplification on it. You need more space, more collector space. So the other companies that have been operating are operating with much smaller antennas, and they can't get the same performance simply because of the physics aspect on the receive side.
So the technological piece plus that partnership was really the game changer, sounds like, for you.
Yeah, I mean, their architecture fits in nicely for military communications. We can really adapt. And then their design was to take what's available now and how can we take advantage of the 3 billion plus devices that are already out there. And even when we did our testing in June, interestingly enough.
Yeah, because you already have all your users. There's no new product to buy.
Yeah, so, there's some things that we had to add into the communications link to make it military level secure. However, we used cell phones that were from 2 years ago when we did our test. So it's just to give you an application of we weren't using the latest or the greatest to make the connection with the satellite. So it's really kind of a unique state where since they took we're working with all the MNVOs all across the globe, really looking at how do you enable AT&Ts and Verizon in the US here to make that connection without much modification to their current networks.
Oh, well done. Yeah, huge milestone. Even 2 years ago, cell phones. I do want to move on to kind of how you got here. But before we do that, for those of us that, maybe don't, check out Reddit every day, what is SpaceMob and how did you find out about all this?
So that's a great question. I'm sure if you Google search SpaceMob, you'll find lots of Reddit and X
Do our
posts.
listeners a favor. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they several their folks in that community stopped by our booth at SAT Show and at the AUSA annual meeting conference, and just most of them are regular retail investors, but there's a lot of engineers. You could tell on there based on the conversations that they're trying to understand and support what AST is doing. So it's really
a group of investors
cool.
that are totally pumped up about the cause and popularizing both the product.
It's a pretty cool community that's out there. Yeah.
You started your career as an RF and satellite engineer for the Army, working on WINTI and large-scale TAC networks. What did those early years teach you about communications and what succeeds or what fails?
Ooh, that is a fantastic question. So I think some of the things was really an interface of what was the requirement, and then there was the intent of a requirement, and then there's actually what solution was developed for that. The challenges that the government always had is having the right subject matter expertise that understands the technology to the same level as what the industry partner that is building it for them. And a lot of times those things never lined up. So the requirement as written might be fantastic, but it may not actually be implementable. And the subject matter experts on the government side didn't quite understand, myself included, what was the actual need. And we came up with a solution and fielded a system, trained it, and then we had to go back and change it because of the requirement that was different. So that's probably one of the biggest items, right?
Well, and Tim, I immediately liken that to a search where I get a JD from a client. I talk to my hire manager, realize the need is totally different from the JD. And then once we get into benchmarking and searching, oftentimes the candidate gets the job. So the solution in our case isn't what they necessarily imagined in terms of spelling that out. So you're saying large scale projects, you get a lot more people involved. So those alignment pieces have to be really checked at all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can have constant meetings, which we did, and feedback and going back and forth. And these complex problems or the capabilities you're really trying to get to are very difficult to get to. And you're trying to move a lot of folks in the same direction. Um, yeah, I was just going to say that, how this current administration of the Pentagon has kind of moved and pivoted to really trying to work together with industry early or much earlier on than what was before, I think is very important to get to, I think, a better end state faster.
So we're doing a better job?
I do believe where the administration has been going in this particular subject. Yes, I think we're doing a better job. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting closer.
Moving the needle. So let's talk about this transition between going from senior SME in the Army to founding and leading a company. And I'll take it also from the lens of, we recruit a lot of engineers that say, I do not want to manage people. And truly, they never do. How did you decide to make that jump? And I guess what would any advice be for somebody that's on the fence about whether you want to consider leading and managing other people?
Sure. So when I made a decision about a few years before I left the government, I had a career goal. I wanted to become a chief technology officer. And I knew if I stayed in the government, I would never become that. So
why
I just,
CTO?
I've always been interested in solutions and technology and being a technologist ultimately, and trying to develop really cool and advanced communications technologies.
Yeah. So since early undergrad, those kind of things, you knew you wanted to be a CTO.
No, I didn't quite understand what I wanted to be until I think about 2012. To be honest with you, when Marissa Mayer became the CEO of Yahoo, that was kind of like a wake up call when I saw that come out, and I was like, I don't. What am I doing here? Is kind of my question, right? I feel like I could do a lot more. My family's rich with small business owners and electrical engineers. So.
Okay, so entrepreneurial family background.
Yeah, there's been multiple Hillner family businesses over the years through the generations. So,
what about Marissa's experience caused you to reflect?
I think just seeing somebody around the same age as me and just kind of enter, like, I felt like didn't hear of her before, and then all of a sudden it was like everywhere. Marissa Mayer is going to be, CEO of Yahoo, and kind of really just kind of helped me say, well, hey, I need to leap for bigger things.
I mean, I can see that where it's almost the social comparison of, oh, they're my age, they're kicking tail. She came out of nowhere to do this. Where am I going? So
I mean, she did have a really good career at Google before that. So I can't say she came out of nowhere, but as far as like my understanding or knowledge of her, in general. So.
That's fair. Definitely. That's one of the things a lot of, particularly on the BD side, my hiring managers and also I look for in new recruits is, have there ever been any entrepreneurs in your family, particularly when you're trying to get somebody to own a new portfolio, those kind of things. It seems like the risk tolerance tends to be higher, and also just simply the family support as well. So that makes sense. You've said your most actionable leadership tip is listening. Understanding what motivates each person from the moment you hire them. How do you actually do that in fast-moving, high-pressure technical teams?
So I like to start right at the beginning with an interview. At the interview stage is when I'm already asking those questions about, what do you enjoy doing? What motivates you, and where do you want to go? So I reflect back on my own experience of the Marissa Mayer thing, right? And I try to focus on that, and then put them in a position that gives them the best opportunity to get to that state that they want to get to. And part of that is building teams of teams and creating a culture and an environment that rewards you for getting as fast as you can to the point of admitting that you don't know something or you don't know how to do something. And as soon as you admit that, then we can go in as a leadership team and help get you that help, training, and develop you as a person and in your career. And we focus that as team learning, team thinking, and moving in that direction. So that's kind of how we drive. We started in the culture. We start right from the beginning, find out where you want to go, make sure you fit in, and then try to always drive and encourage you to keep striving for the next step.
What are you hoping to hear from those first interviews in terms of what motivates me? Because we all know like the right answers from interview questions. In our more youthful days, you tend to get more honest, interesting answers as well. What's the ultimate thing that would get you excited about somebody's motivation?
So at Fairwinds, we're known, at least in the technical jobs, for very difficult interviews. And they're not very long, but they're very technically difficult. And one of the areas that we really focus on is how do you learn? I ask you that question. What do you do to learn? I give you something, you have no idea how to do it. What's your next step? And walk through that. So I want to hear from that I'm going to go to all of my available options that first are free, right? So obviously you got the internet and lots of YouTube podcasts, right? Lots of technical papers. That's the type of thing. I want to say you're going to go scrap to go figure it out, right?
Independent learner.
Independent learner. If they say, hey, I would ask, I also like to hear, try to see if I can get mentorship from some of the senior people that you have, maybe ask a mentor, college professors. Oh, I know this, I still was thinking with my college professor, if they're younger, right? I want to hear that you're going to go, you have ideas already of how you're going to go learn something.
Mm-hmm. That's the number one that I think gets you most excited.
Yeah, because that's the between that and what they're motivated for when they line up, they're going to want to do the work. We don't want to force you to do something. We want you to want to do it. And if you have that desire and drive to learn something in a specific area you want to go to, you're going to do it.
Yeah. One. Building out my own team too. I've been asking a lot of people, hey, what interview questions do you ask? Recruiting firms are notorious for not hiring individuals that make awesome recruiters. So we're trying to always peel back the onion and figure out what made that person an incredible hire. We tend to hire for attitude always, above any other skill set as well. Because just like you said, you can't force somebody to do something. They need to want it. Mm-hmm.
And we don't want any folks that are coming in saying how you can't do something. You're saying, well, right now I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to find a way to do it. That's really right. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had hiring managers say, if you need a job description, this is not for you.
Yeah. I like to tell people, you got to leave room for innovation. Where's the room for innovation?
Mm-hmm. So you've led teams supporting over 150 transmission systems across contested environments. How do you set clear expectations and then empower people without micromanaging them?
That is a very difficult task, but it's not insurmountable. You focus on what do you see as your expectation, and some ideas, and leaving room for feedback from that expectation, and moving forward and saying, here's the clear goals that we're trying to get to. That's really where we're trying to get at the end state. And then we kind of map up to that end state. So you have the expectations up front. This is kind of the roles, responsibilities, I think, for you. And this is where we want to try to get to. And we're going to measure success against the end state.
Mm-hmm. Now, you spent years, Tim, in senior government roles before co-founding Fairwinds Tech. What do you think the biggest misconception is from government and industry that they still have about each other?
I think understanding of an expectation for a particular how you're going to get to something, like expectation of how you're going to deliver a solution. There's unrealistic, usually on schedule, unrealistic expectations and design of what you're trying to get to.
On both sides.
On both sides, yeah. So, we got the BD sales folks pushing out, hey, we're going to do this, right? We're trying to get you on contract. Then they're going to hand you off to your execution team. Your execution team's going to be like, I don't know what this guy was doing, right?
Why did they promise this? There's no way we can deliver that.
Exactly. And the government's trained. I was in the acquisition course. So on the government side, we're trained to like weed through that stuff, right? And kind of, I think I should have, anybody that used to work with me on the industry side when I was on the government side, I probably should apologize for how I behaved, because in the government, I kind of started a lot of meetings with, I believe, all contractors are scum until proven otherwise, and that's kind of the view.
You must have been real popular, Tim.
Yeah. And I said, to continually prove it. Right?
10 years later, this is the apology. Here and now, Tim Hillner.
Usually I say that to, it was mostly sales or BD folks trying to pitch me something or technology. And I say, look, the technology is going to speak for itself.
How welcoming.
Yeah, but that's kind of the view, is that contractors are making a lot of money. That was kind of the view, right? They're coming in, you make a lot of money, right? They are in some cases, right? But the folks that are actually in that room, maybe one or two of them from that company is making, but all the people that are actually doing the execution part are not typically making that
They're
much
not
money.
on the LTIP usually.
Yeah, exactly. So then like viewing it as more of like me versus them was probably the wrong part. You really need to be a partnership, right? At the end of the day, we're in it together. We want to fast track things. We need to take, steps that are understanding of what's in the contract, not and what's the intent of what should be in the contract, and how much can we do to help further that mission at the end of the day, where we might have bid at a certain price and you're to make a certain level of profit. We're willing to put money, at least at Fairwinds, we're willing to let go of that profit and get to the mission. But we can only go to a certain extent, right? At that point, to break even, basically. So
yeah, you got to know your break even point. Absolutely. Looking ahead, how do you see NTN, non-terrestrial networks, AI, and adaptive communications reshaping military C5, ISR, and electronic warfare? What's the future hold?
So I believe we're at a rapid pace to completely replace, upside down, whatever words you want to use, how we currently do things. Where today we're more about the classical communication model. We have a system that's, transmission system that's wireless. We have a router, and then we have all these steps. And where AI is moving, and these different agents for different areas of that stack, the first step is replacing our current model. The second step is replacing all of it, where we have a learning system basically that's constantly adapting and optimizing every aspect of the system. So what does that mean? Today we can use Starlink as a perfect example. Everybody likes Starlink. So their first satellites, the first satellites weren't too good, right? I mean, let's be honest, they weren't great. Absolutely not. But their model is an iterative model to continually advance the technology and constantly replace and new satellites going up. So now Starlink is way better than it was when it started because of that. And it's continually improving, right? So on the flip side, we look at the idea of AI. Well, that took, 36 months. Like, it's really drastically changed. The same thing's happening in AI. 18 months ago, the applications using AI, the outputs of it weren't very good, but we're kind of rapidly advancing almost at the same rate as Moore's Law, which the processors, every 18 months, we're going to double in performance. So looking at AI, that means in the future, we're going to be able to be fast enough. We're going to be able to move quick, and we're going to be able to optimize not over 2 or 3 years, but it's going to be in a matter of minutes or hours, right? And that's really going to drastically change everything, the entire communications model.
Get ready for some quick change. Mm-hmm. Before I let you go, for engineers, military professionals, or founders who want to build a meaningful tech and strong team, what's one lesson you learned the hard way that you'd like to pass along now?
Ooh. I guess some of the hard way is I'm a fairly empathetic person, and working with folks that were working hard, and we unfortunately, like, COVID was terrible, right, for everybody.
Well, and even before that, you said we were cash strapped, nearly ran out.
Yeah, we definitely, we were 2 days away from bankruptcy a few years back.
2 days. That must have been stressful.
It was. I think my nature
Your lifetime
is to help.
savings, I'm assuming, was wrapped up in there too.
Yeah. So I mean, the advice is we can still be empathetic. I still want to help folks when we have to let people go. But the law and our law system, I should say, kind of prohibits that. Folks not understanding, business goes away, right? So I think that's kind of the hard way. I still will help people, but unfortunately, when we do,
you should have fired faster.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Based on business needs.
Business needs, and still. When I fire, we try to make sure the person that we have to let go to help them land on their feet. So even though it's tough, that's something I really had to learn the hard way. Because in the government, you don't fire people; you just move them, or you promote them.
Well, and then history of military, I've heard a lot of veteran Marines have the mentality of, give me anybody, I'll make a functioning team. So almost taking the extreme ownership of whoever I've got, I can mold into the A team. And you're saying, hey, being on the other side, CEO, founder of a startup, you're not doing anybody any favors in terms of sticking around with the bad fit too.
Because sometimes getting fired is the best thing for that person, because in the next job, they're going to crush it.
Occasionally we have bosses say, hey, it's not right for us. He's going to crush it somewhere. Could you please reach out to this employee to see if you can help them? So we get both sides. Yeah, it can be challenging. Well, Tim, I am so excited to see where Fairwinds Tech and your technologies are headed next year. 12 months from now, what are we going to be celebrating?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I think you're going to see Fairwinds is going to actually get a lot more publicity, I'd say, and get out there more. And we're going to be most excited because we are growing significantly and we're entering into the counter-UAS market as well this month, actually. And so I think you're going to be celebrating our products.
Say
coming out
drone,
this year.
Everybody gets excited. It's like saying wedding these days. Price tag goes up that much too.
Yeah, and Fairwinds just on December 26th, our products division just switched from pre-revenue to revenue. So we're going to start seeing, Fairwinds isn't just services and strategic procurement anymore. It is also, we have our own products.
Excellent. Getting off the paper. Love it. Well, this has been so much fun. Can't wait to see where you take Fairwinds.
Definitely. I appreciate the time today.